everybody, how's it going? Hey, it's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, coming to you on this Wednesday, May 15th, 2019, with my next update video. It's the official, well, unofficial, official end of Stitch Mania, kind of. Stitch Mania is whatever you make it. So I guess the original end is today. But a lot of us are continuing on. I guess I kind of am in my own particular way. So yeah, it's Wednesday, and because I filmed on Tuesday last week, I feel like it's been forever since I filmed. I've been really good about filming every week lately, and so it's weird. Like, I feel like it's been a long time. It's only one extra day. Anyway, so we have a bunch of things to talk about. I've got projects that I've worked on, including a finish. Of course, most of you knew it was coming. Before that, though, I have Q&A. Quite a few questions to go this go round. I have some really exciting stash that I received. I have a book to tell you about and some knitting. Yeah, like a whole gamut of things. I still don't expect this to be a terribly long video. Famous last words, as I say all the time. But yeah, I think that this is probably going to be relatively short-ish, maybe, kind of. At least a Jessie Marie Does Stuff short. We'll go with it. Before I get into any of that, though, I have to borrow from my good friend Michelle Bendy, and we need to do a best new thing in the world today, because I have two. Okay, so for my birthday this year, my brother got me this thing, and if you're in School of Magical Stitches, I posted about it when it arrived last week, but basically I'm super giddy excited. So let me show you. Here's the first one. Expecto Patronum in this fabulous squishy pillow. I barely got the pillow form in there on both of these. It's a pretty tight fit, but it's plushy and it's fabulous. The fabric is like denim. I'm gonna flip to the back. It's like 90s whitewash jeans denim is what it looks like. And it's fabulous. And there's all sorts of dog hair and stuff on them. But nonetheless. So, Expecto Patronum. Love this. But I think this one's my favorite. You're just as sane as I am. The older I get, the more I relate to Luna Lovegood. Yeah, I love this. I'm so in love with this. This one's more suede-y. But do you guys see the shape of the moon in the back? Because Luna. This makes me so happy. So the tags say Pottery Barn Teen. So, but I think that you can get them on Amazon. I'm so excited about this. I love this. So thank you, Matt. That's so cool. And I love. So I felt pretty spoiled for my birthday, and I thought I should share that with you guys since we're all about the magical stitches. Okay, another thing I should address before I get into the Q&A, and that is I posted last night, with my stitching update and talked about the fact that I tweaked my neck. I took a nap on the sofa yesterday, an unintended nap, as the best naps are, and I slept in a really funky position, and when I got up, my neck was so sore. So I thought for sure I was going through the same thing that I did at the beginning of the year. I was just waiting to wake up in that never-ceasing pain and have to go to the ER and go through all that rigmarole again. Fortunately, this was not as severe as the pinched nerve of January 2019. This was just a tweaked neck, and I'm all good. I'm not 100 yet, but it's pretty close. So all good there. So no worries. And thanks for everybody who sent hugs and well wishes. Okay, so let's go over what's going on behind me. You'll see Frosty Knot Garden, and that will play into the Q&A, so I thought that I would bring her and show her. Y'all don't yell at me. Don't bring your pitchforks about the fact that she's not framed yet. Okay? Okay. And then Mother's Day flowers from Thor, aka hubby went and picked them up. But I just thought that I would bring those. I have some real flowers rather than the plasticky ones this go around. I'm loving this display. I had FlossTube on autoplay this week and my Whip Parade popped up. I don't know why, but it did. And this wall looks so boring. So I really love this display. So thanks, Shell, for the inspiration for my J Mermaid. Anyway, okay, so let's, now that all the administrative stuff is taken care of, let's jump into the question and answer segment. Okay, so I've got my Q&A written out down here, so if I'm looking down, you know why. And so we have quite a few questions. The first is coming from both Ann P. of Fiberfloss and Fiction podcast and Laurel. And they both sort of asked the question, what's your next long dog? After finishing Opus 2, can't just stop it at 1, so what's next? And so I've been thinking about this. And so I'm gonna put up some preview images of the ones that are calling to me the loudest. The first is the Spirit of Verlanda, and this one has always drawn my eye because of the diamond-shaped motifs. So I was looking a little bit closer at this while I was getting ready here, and there are some motifs that translate from Opus 2 into this. So the dragons and then a couple of the rounder motifs are very similar. Not exact, but very similar. So I thought that was interesting. So I love that one. When The Pilgrim was released, I thought for sure that was going to be my next one. Death by Cross Stitch has never drawn me in, nor has Life After Death. But I think that The Pilgrim is kind of a similar, I equate it, it's in a similar aesthetic, and that one drew me in immediately. So yeah, definitely love The Pilgrim. Let's see, another one, I bought it immediately after it was released, and that was Crossword. And I just saw on Instagram, just before I hit record, that Mika, Darling Bluebell, started hers today. I thought that was really interesting. That's been in my head today, and then I see it pop up. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I love Crossword. I love the sentiment of it, and I have contemplated doing it as a bit of a wedding sampler. So I know that I had originally planned on doing the Northern Expressions Needlework shades of wine and orange, but I really like Crossword a little bit better. But the one that I am leaning towards the most as of this morning, ask me again tomorrow, it will probably change, but the one that I'm leaning towards the most is Opus 1. Opus 1. And I had this, what I would consider a genius idea of inverting. So I would stitch this one on a dark bluey green fabric, if I can find something like that, with an off-white thread. So Opus 1 and 2 would be sort of the inverse of each other. So that's kind of percolating in my head. I mean, I've got, 7-8 months until I can start anything, at least non-October things. So I've got some time to figure out fabric and to sort that out. So stay tuned. But I think at this point, it's Opus 1 is going to be my next one. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Next question is coming from Justine Stitching. And Justine asked how many skeins it took to finish Opus 2. I talked about the fact that I bought a box. And so I went through that box to finish Opus 2. I wish that I kept track of this. I wish that I watched this more closely. But I think that I went through a total of 9 skeins. I think. basically what happened is I thought that I had bobbinated all of them, and I have 2 left in my spares, in my what's it called, overflow DMC. So I still have 2 full bobbins of 924. I thought I misplaced them, and so I went out and bought 2 new skeins, and I think I only used 1 of those new skeins. So I think 9, but maybe less or more. I don't know for certain. So about 9. We'll go with that. And I was not terribly frugal. I am notoriously bad about that, which is something that I have to work on. So there is that. Okay, next question. Kim, Spartan Stitcher, she asked if I forgot about Stark House Banner because I talked about Monochromania last week, and I mentioned that I didn't mention that project in the options. So that is a monochromatic piece. However, it broke my rules. I broke my own rules to work on that during this final season of Game of Thrones. That project is from an Etsy designer, and I have a lot of projects to get through before I would get to that based on how my rotation works and my projects and my focuses this year and UFOs and all that jazz. The long story short is that after this Sunday, Stark House Banner is going back into the UFO pile to be worked on later if I get to it this year. I don't know that I will. It's one of my later Etsy starts, so I doubt that I'll get to it again. But nonetheless, it's not technically a 2019 whip. So if y'all are looking at me like, hey Jess, you forgot to count that one monochrome design. Yeah, it's not up for consideration because it's not technically a 2019 whip this year. So there is that. Okay, I'm gonna skip those 2 for right now. Carmel Guay, I hope I am pronouncing that correctly. Carmel talks about the fact that they are getting Frosty Knot Garden in the mail. Their order from European Cross Stitch has shipped, and Carmel wanted to know about fabric. They said that they didn't go with the kit fabric, and so wondered what I used. So that's why I brought Frosty, because I figured I'd show her. And I did go with the kit fabric. So it is a 28 count antique white cashel linen. It's the called for. I started her back in 2013. I was a very new stitcher. And yeah, so, was it 2013? It might have been 2014. I don't remember which. Regardless, I was a pretty new stitcher at the time, and I was totally clueless on subbing fabrics. And Martina talked about the fact that she didn't really care too much for the hand-dyed fabrics for her designs because her designs are so colorful on their own that a super colorful background or a mottled background or what have you might take away from the aesthetic of the design as she put it together. And so I took that information and I just ran with it. I thought I'm not at a point where I feel like messing with what the designer says. So that's what I did. So that's why I went with the called for. And to an extent, I kind of agree with Martina. I think that this one is simplistic enough that you can totally switch out the background fabric. It's just fine. But she uses such a wide range of colors that getting a background that's going to make all of them shine together, I don't know. That's why I went with the called for Poison Garden. That's why I went with the called for Bold Band Sampler. I went a little off the deep end a little bit with Autumn Fairy, but nonetheless. So there's that. Okay, next 2 questions are knitting related. So the first one is coming from Marianne's Creative Space. And Marianne asked if I had any recommendations for new knitters and shawls that I think new knitters would be after. And So this question was asked, I don't know, a year, maybe two, maybe more ago, if I had any recommendations for beginner shawls, because I am a shawl addict. Um, and you guys are going to see that here when we get to that segment. So I was asked this a couple years ago, and so I created a bundle on Ravelry. So Ravelry, if you are a knitter and you are not on Ravelry, get thee to Ravelry immediately. It's a wealth of information, and yeah, it's the best. It's like Facebook and Instagram and the Xstitch app and all of that rolled into one. It's phenomenal, and I wish that stitching had an equivalent. Anyway, off that rant. I created a bundle back then of beginner shawls. I will link that bundle again here in the description box. You can check that out. And I'm going to put the call out again. Knitters out there, if you know of any beginner shawls that I don't have included, I haven't worked on or updated this list in a long time. But if you've got any recommendations for beginner shawls that you think would be really great for this list, hit me up, let me know, and I will make sure that it's added to the list. Like I said, I'm a shawl addict, and so I love seeing shawls. Anyway, okay, so there's that. The last question is coming from Jemima. She is the Rocking Stitcher here on FlossTube, and she was talking about the fact that about knitting needles with the cable in between. And so I just thought that I would talk about this real quick. She mentioned that she's never seen anybody using needles like this except for when knitting in the round. So knitting a hat or a cowl or a sweater that's not pieced together, etc., etc. And so she wondered kind of why. So first of all, I almost always prefer to knit with these needles with the cable in between. First of all, if you knit with straights, they're long and they're a little cumbersome and they can be a little heavy, in my personal opinion and experience. Whereas these are pretty short. These are, I think, 6 inches from tip to join, maybe. And so it's a lot less needle to deal with. Here's the other reason that I like to use these. Because I'm a shawl knitter, a lot of times shawls will get into the 300, 400, 500, 600 stitch range by the end. And it would take some serious straight knitting needles to get all of those stitches on the needles. So I use these cabled ones because this can hold an awful lot more stitches than 2 straights, or even 1 straight if that's the situation. Now, I know plenty of people who knit with straights, who knit shawls on straights. I think Joji Locatelli does, and she's got these crazy long straights that she does her shawls on. But I prefer this. It's a lot easier for stitch management. I wanted to pull a shawl that I have that's got a ton of stitches on, but I don't have any right now, which is really strange. I've got a couple hundred, but not 500 or 600. But it won't be long now before I have that many stitches on the needle for several projects. So that's really what the purpose of those are. This set, because people will wonder, this is an interchangeable set. So I can, I don't have my key, but I can take this needle tip off and trade it for a different size. And these are my favorite needles in the history of forever. I can't imagine myself using anything else ever again. They are Qiaogu, and they're fabulous. The join is practically seamless. The needle tips don't slip out. It doesn't undo itself on its own. The cable is bendy, but not, that's funny, but it's not, like it doesn't get kinked up. I love Qiaogus. I cannot recommend them enough. A little spendy, but spendy and bendy. Anyway, so there's that. So that's it as far as the needles are concerned. So that takes care of the Q&A. Thank you everybody so much for asking your questions. As always, you guys, if you have questions, by all means, leave them in the description box below. I will either get back to you directly or address it here in a video. All right, let's get started talking about some projects. And the first thing we're gonna do is talk about a finish. Very exciting. Most of you knew it was coming, and if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, then you will have seen this. But my second project for Monogamania, Monochromania, Finishmania, was Stacy Nash Primitive's Halloween Jack Sewing Roll. And I think I was asked, not on FlossTube, but on Instagram, what I was planning on doing with this, and I think I want to send this to a finisher, perhaps Acorns and Threads, maybe, or Vana, maybe, to have the sewing roll done, because I really like it. I'd like to be able to frame it, so like an open frame that I could fix it to if I wasn't using it as a sewing roll, because I can't imagine I'm going to use it as a sewing roll. Anyway, that's kind of my idea. So this was my second project for Mania, like I said, and this is on 32 count Belfast linen in Claire from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. I stitched it using Anchor Black, and Annette from Annette's Acre is 2 for 2. It took me an additional 4 days. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Finished it Thursday night. I stitched quite a bit on Thursday, but I was able to get it done. And I was so excited. So excited to get this done. I love this project. Like, from start to finish, I loved this project. From inception, really. I mean, seeing it on the wall at Keepsakes to putting in that last stitch and my signature, which I snuck in down there. So there is that. Love this. I think it was a total of 9 stitching days over the course of the last 7 months. I started this in October of last year during Dark October stitching. It was the one project that I had as an option to start last October that I was really hoping was going to come up. And I was thankful that it did. So yeah, there's that. There is one teeny tiny little itty bitty mistake, and I'll point it out. This is supposed to be up 1 stitch higher. Yep, that's it. And I debated changing the year to 1872, because 1872 is the Virginia Tech establishment date. But I decided to just stick with the 20 for simplicity's sake. Love it. So there's that. Oh, irony of all ironies. Jack-o'-lantern, such a fright. There's no jack-o'-lanterns. There's no pumpkins in this whole design. I thought about adding one, but I decided against it. Just leave it as it is. I also worked on this for a couple of things. I thought that I would go over this with you guys if I attribute a project to a stitching challenge of some sort. So this I used for the May and June Stitching Extra Credit in School of Magical Stitches. And I did this for the Imperious Curse, stitch on something that made you stitch it like immediately. And I've told the story before as well as today about seeing it at Keepsakes and had to have it. I also did this for the Ultimate Stitching Challenge, and I decided to use this for the 7 attempts on Harry's Life by Voldemort. And the first attempt was October 31st, 1981, and that's Halloween. So applied this for that. So that's what I used this for. I also used it for Letter of Fortune with Semi-Sane Stitchers. Here, I'll show you the back while I'm rambling. I'm officially at 6 finishes, 3 of which are monochromatic. Let's see. What else? Finish number 5 for Stitch 9, and I'm at almost half on Year of Whips with having finished this one, so that's pretty exciting. So there is that. I finished up Halloween Jack on Thursday. Friday, I got started on my third and probably final, like, official Mania project. I don't know. Because Mania's dates have shifted so much over the years, I'm not really sure what to call it, but I think that this is my last one because for me, Mania ends on Sunday the 19th. So, this project is Queen Anne's Lace by Nora Corbett. And preview here of what this will look like finished. Isn't this funny? This is the project that was released today, along with two others as the new Nora Corbett releases. I thought that was pretty wild. And here's where I'm currently up to. I've done a fair bit of work in the skirt. Sans beads, her bodice is done. The crown is also done except for beads. I did her hair, and you can barely see it here. Let me see if I can bring it in closer so that you can see that. Yeah. Her wing in Krynic. It's a very pale pink Krynic. I looked at subbing in Petite Treasure Braid, but I can't really find a great equivalent, so I just went with it. I happen to have it in stash, so there is that. But that's as far as I got on the wing because I am missing the other Karen Water Lily. This is kind of an expensive little Nora Corbett. She calls for 2 Karen Water Lilies and 5 colors of beads, on top of, you know, everything else. So for being a little design, she's not cheap, this girl. So yeah. So that's where I am up to. But like I said, I don't have that Karen Water Lily just yet. It's in the mail. It's on the way. And so once that arrives, then I'll continue with the wing and then work on her wings over here. I just wanted to wait until I had all of this stuff before I really dove in and got the wings going. So there is that. And I am now currently working down here in the skirt. The skirt is a lot of fun to stitch. There's quite a few colors in there, including a blend, but it's a lot of fun to stitch. I'm enjoying it. So there's my Queen Anne's Lace. Now, I have applied this to an Ultimate Stitching Challenge with School of Magical Stitches. I did this one for the 7 Horcruxes, and one of those Horcruxes is the Ravenclaw diadem, which is a tiara or a crown, and she's got quite the crown. So there's that. I am also working on this for the May and June Stitching Extra Credit. The task that is stitch on a project that features something that would be at a winter ball. She is wearing a lovely gown, and it is very spring-like, but because it's styled after the flower Queen Anne's Lace, it kind of looks like snow on the bottom. At least it does to me. So there's that. And fabric, before I put this down, is 28 count Wren, Crystal Wren from Picture This Plus. So I am actively working on that now. Sunday, get up. And by the way, happy Mother's Day, everybody. So we didn't have anywhere to be on Sunday. We were out pretty late Saturday night, and we were just kind of taking it easy on Sunday. So I work on Queen Anne's Lace in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I pulled out my Stark House banner, #ForTheThroneSal. And so I'm working on this for about an hour and a half to 2 hours every Sunday through the end, which will be this week. And so here's how far I got. Not terribly far. I was really hoping I would get page 1 finished, but that was not to be. Page 1 kind of cuts off here and halfway through this medallion thing. So I still have a little bit to do over here and then some more more in there. So I got a little bit done. And this flowery thing is pretty cool looking. I like it. So I'm really hoping that this Sunday I can get that page 1 finished. I think that would be pretty great. This fabric is Valyrian Steel from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie on a 32 count Belfast. The thread I'm using is DMC 762. So yeah, just one more little session, and then this goes away for a while. Monday was the 13th, and I was just in the mood for some dark 13 stitching. Not to mention, I have to wait on some materials for Queen Anne's lace, like I mentioned, and so I thought, well, this is a great opportunity for me to just kind of switch and work on some Halloween. So monogamy is not really happening anymore because I am bouncing all over the place. So anyway, so Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow was the project that I decided to pull out and work on. I just felt like it. To be honest, I was thinking that maybe I could get this block done. I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought it was possible. It's totally not possible. It was certainly not possible in one day, let alone the 2 that I ended up giving it. So this is on a 40 count Newcastle in Country Mocha from Zweigart, and I am working on that block 3. Yeah. I have this whole solid section of stitching down here. It's like 800 stitches or something in that little section. It's a lot. But I did make some pretty good progress in 2 days. So I pulled this out on Monday to work on it for dark 13 stitching. And then I ended up applying it to another of the May and June stitching extra credits. So I had to continue with it on Tuesday to finish out that 500 stitch segment. So I put in a little over 1,000 stitches between the 2 days, which is pretty great. I was going to stitch on it more last night, but after tweaking my neck, I was like, well, maybe not. So this is where it stopped. So the May and June stitching extra credits, I applied it to the mode of transportation because this design features a horse, a train, and a boat. So that works for that. And then I also decided to apply it to a project with words. The other project that I had pegged for that was Give Thanks, which I will work on in June, but I just thought if I could get ahead on the stitching extra credit, that would be great. So, and since I was still working on this, why not? So there is that. So I got the horse finished, and I was really excited to get that finished on Monday. And yeah, I really like it. The moon is not quite done. I thought I was going to get the moon done yesterday, but say lovey. So as I said, I worked on Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow yesterday morning, tweaked my neck, no more stitching. Get up this morning, I'm feeling good, so Queen Anne's lace went back on the frame to hopefully get her finished this weekend. Yeah, this weekend. So that's going to take us into plans a little bit. The first thing that we need to talk about in plans is Ingeborg's birthday sale, which starts today. And thankfully I've got it all sorted out. So, okay, Ingeborg, Stitch Too Far, she picked a 4-day rotation type challenge birthday sale, and so each day has its different prompt. So today, day 1 is frog, because her channel name, A Stitch Too Far, literally refers to going a stitch too far and having to frog. So I decided to go with Queen Anne's lace, and I'm going to bring her back up so I can point out these things to you. So when I started this in Mania 2016, I goofed up bad, And I basically had to frog out everything that I had done way back then, and almost start over completely because the skin was shifted a stitch over and up or something bananas like that. So I had to basically rip out everything except for the skin because I wasn't doing that to get her going. So I had to frog on her considerably. And if you all have been watching my FlossTube, there is video evidence of this from way back when. Okay, tomorrow, day 2 is green, and I can't remember why green, but I've got a ton of green in here, so I'll be working on Queen Anne's lace. Day 3 is friends, and the whole reason that Ingeborg started her channel was to converse with and make stitchy friends. And so we are to work on a project that makes us think of a friend or something like that. Okay, so here's how this is fitting that. Do y'all know Michelle Bendy, my good friend Michelle Bendy? Do you know her project that she finished this year at some point, Dear Roy, which is based off of Dear Joy from Barbara Anna. Before Dear Roy, there was Queen Anne's Lace. So I started this in May of 2016. And in August of 2016, that was my brother's birthday, and we went to a drag brunch. So I fully credit that for my inspiration for this. This is Queen Anne's Lace. She is a drag queen. She is in her full show getup. She's ready to perform, sparkly wings and all. But it's more than that. She's an Adam's apple, which I'll insert the pattern here and zoom in on that so you can see it. She's an Adam's apple. She's very broad shoulders and big feet. So this is my drag queen. So this kind of makes me think of my friend Michelle because we both got drag queens. So there's that. Not to mention my needle minders here are all very friends related. This was a gift from Dawn, Frosty X Stitch. This makes me think of School of Magical Stitches, which Sammy J made me do it. And this is a very old needle minder. This is one of my very first. And I bought this for a project that I was working on for a cross stitch It's Fun sow way back when. We're talking 2014, way back when. I needed a St. Patrick's Day needle minder for that project, and so that was with friends. So all sorts of friends stuff going on here. And then day 4 is Saturday the 18th, and it's new and old. And so I started that project in 2016, so that's kind of old, at least as far as my stitching career is concerned, but it's also new because the chart pack was just released today from Witchelt. I got that pattern from Just Cross Stitch, and I think that their contract of exclusivity probably ended recently, and so that's why Witchelt now has it, and the chart pack is being released. So it's definitely old and new, which I think is pretty cool. So there is that. I also thought about pulling out my Hope sampler, but I would really like to have Queen Anne's Lace finished this weekend. And ideally, I will have her finished on Saturday. Annette from Annette's Acre gave me 8 days, and that would be Saturday. Saturday is day 8, so time to get the ball rolling on that. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So that takes us through maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get it done. Then, School of Magical Stitches homework this week. I'm a purist, and I want to do what the homework says. The homework was to pull our 17th whip from our whip album because you have to be at least 17 years old to enter the Triwizard Tournament, which is taking place this year, and then put in 700 stitches on it. And then there are alternates if you don't have enough whips, etc. in your whip album. So my 17th whip is Sheep Heap from Plum Street Samplers. So living in my Monolith bag here. Let me see if I can find the right one. Here we go. Sheep Heap is my 17th whip. I also have Goat Load, that's at number 18. They are listed as separate whips in my whip album, which totally works. So there is that. And I am stitching this on 32 count Belfast in Colonial Parchment as a quartet with several of the animal stacks from Plum Street. But there is my Sheep Heap. So 700 stitches would get me awfully close to finished. But my primary goal this week is Queen Anne's lace. And so I may do penalty stitches to work on Queen Anne's lace for homework rather than this. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how I feel on Saturday. If I think I'm going to get it done on Saturday, then maybe I'll pull this out on Sunday and try to get homework done on Sunday. 700 stitches is an awful lot, and we may have a birthday party on Sunday. So I don't know. I'm on the fence. But I'm a purist, so I want to do what Kat and Vicky tell me to. So there's that. So we'll see. See what happens. Then on Monday, I am getting to In This Moment. Depending on what homework tells me to do this week, or next week rather, I am getting to In This Moment on Monday. I am craving full coverage stitching. I don't know if it's watching Spartan Stitcher finish all her pages for Finish Page Mania. It has been so long since I've been able to sink my teeth into In This Moment that I would really like to pull that out on Monday. So Queen Anne's lace, pretty much like if I don't get it done by Sunday, it's going away for a little bit because I want In This Moment. And I've done quite a good bit of stitching, having 2 finishes, almost 3. So I'm good with pulling out what I want to work on. I didn't bring that this time because I just showed it, I think, in the last 2 videos straight. So I will, I'll go over that next week if it comes out, which it will by this time next week. Okay, let's get on to the stash acquisitions. I have 3 here to show you, but it starts off with a story. Okay. Do you guys remember last fall when we were all doing hashtag Stitchy Wishlist? We all, quite a few of us, I should say, posted some previews of Stitchy Wishlist items, some patterns that have been on our wish list for a while, be they in print, out of print, what have you. And then the most beautiful thing came of that. People started granting Stitchy wishes. It was beautiful. It was so much fun to watch. So I posted my Stitchy wish list, and I'm just going to span through here so you guys can see this. So this is Rosewood Manor's Music Through the Trees. Amy of Amy Loves Toads sent that to me. There we go. Touching the Autumn Sky by Mirabilia. I was lent that by a beautiful friend. Oh, wrong way again. Cinnamon Stars by Plum Street Samplers. I have loved this since forever. And so I don't have it yet, but it is definitely still on my list. Okay, up next is A Most Noble Pursuit, which will be impossible to get a hold of in this lifetime. But who knows, maybe eventually. This is a collaboration with 10 different designers, including Kathy Barrick by the Bay Needle Arts. I think Heartstring Sampler is in here. Yeah, a bunch of different designers in there. I absolutely love that. And then we come to this. And this I put in here just as a placeholder because I wrote in this that I have been after a reproduction sampler dated 1872 since I started sort of looking at prim stuff. And so I hit Google hard, looking for 1872 reproduction samplers. And I had a really hard time finding anything. I found 1871, I found 1873, but 1872, for whatever reason, was a bad year for samplers. I don't know. But I did find this. I found this original on Google. This is Leah Gronow, 1872. And I love this. I love this so much, to the point where, like, this is really what got me looking at repro samplers a little bit closer. I love this. The text on this reads, "Teach me to live, that I may dread the grave as little as my bed. Teach me to die, that so I may rise glorious at that awful day." Oh my goodness, I love this. I love this so much. It's got a big old house. It's got these cool trees. I'm obsessed with this. So if you happen to watch Emily C. Eclectic Possessions, and you watched her video from a couple weeks ago, then all of this is going to sound and look very familiar. So a couple weeks ago, I'm watching Emily C. And I think it was her video that was broken up into 2 parts, and so I was watching the second part. She starts talking about this new sampler that she got, and I'm like, gosh, that sounds familiar. And then she says 1872, and I was like, wait a second, there's a sampler out there that's 1872? And then she reads the text, and at that point it was like, put needle down. What the heck is Emily talking about? It has been charted. I looked so hard for this, you guys. Like, I Googled the text. I Googled the name. I looked so hard for this. And then Emily shows it, and I almost burst into tears. I was so excited. So this is by Merry Wind Farm. It's a Welsh folk art sampler, and it's Leah Gronow. I almost cried. I was so excited. There's birds on it. 1872. Like, this is so good. This is so good. And there's information on the back here about Leah. Oh my gosh, this is just amazing. It's amazing. Okay, so I'm so super excited about it. And I was shaking when I ordered this. Merry Wind Farm is Caroline, and she is on Etsy. So I'm shaking while I'm ordering this, and I'm like, okay, a pattern with this gravity cannot travel alone. It cannot. So I had to get one to go with it. And the other one that I found that I really liked is Amelia Bemrose, 1805. And really what drew me in is because I am that much of a narcissist. She finished this on April 25th, 1805. My birthday. I mean, you know, like 180 years beforehand, but nonetheless. 180? Yeah, 180 years. Nonetheless. So, I love this. And the text over here says, "This is my work, and you may see how kind my parents has been to me." Amelia Bemrose. So, love this. Super excited about it. So, sorry, not Caroline, Melinda. Melinda, after I ordered this, I debated on whether I was going to tell you guys this. But nonetheless, Melinda contacted me after I placed this order, and she said, "Thank you so much for your interest in my patterns. I'm going to get them in the mail to you tomorrow, and I hope that you enjoy stitching them. I am also going to include another chart in the package as a compliment, as a complimentary, because Amelia and Mary Clay were best friends in school. And they stitched their samplers together. So there are similarities between these two, and there are obviously some differences because the two girls were two very different. Mary finished hers on April 17th, and Amelia finished hers on April 25th. And she just sent this to me because she thought they were together 200 years ago, and so they should remain together. First of all, please do not email her and ask for this. I am blown away. Like, I was so grateful to have these two best friends together. That's so cool. That's so cool. I love that. But please do not contact her and ask for this same thing. Please don't order from her and expect the same thing. I'm trying to figure out a way to send her some money without cluing her in to buying a sampler or to sending it to me. I'm really, really grateful for having the two of them together. I had always intended on going back and getting Mary Clay later, but these are reproduction samplers, so they're not exactly cheap. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I love this. And so the same Solomon's Temple is there with their alphabet and numbers practice there. It looks like Mary put some more text in hers that Amelia didn't. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Yeah, these are beautiful, and like I'm obsessed with them. So Leah may get started this year. Perhaps that will be my New Jersey retreat start. We'll see. We'll see. I'm so excited. And I know that samplers aren't everybody's jam, but just the connection to those, unbelievable. And thanks, Emily, for enabling me back. Let's switch over to books, and I have just one book to talk to you about. As I've mentioned previously, I'm only talking about books if I have finished something, and in this last week I did. So the book that I'm going to talk about is Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Most of you will know her as having written Gone Girl, that was turned into a movie with Ben Affleck. And if you have seen Gone Girl, then you know that it's a messed up book. It's a messed up story. You don't like any of the characters. You kind of hate everybody. It's twisty and dark and grotesque and but like not in really obvious ways, just kind of like fringe creepy. We'll go with that. And this is no different. This is Gillian Flynn's debut, actually. This is the first book that she published. And it's got a very similar bite to it. It's a little thing. It's 250 pages. Super quick read. And the premise is that we have Camille Preaker. She's a reporter. She works for a newspaper in Chicago, and she is sent to her hometown in Wind Gap, Missouri, which is I think it's billed as like the Southern Midwest, and she is sent there to report on the disappearance and subsequent murder of 2 teenage girls. And Camille has recently left a psychiatric ward, and her mom is still living in Wind Gap, and so she is sent not only to report on this, but her very father figure type boss also wants her to sort of have an opportunity to address her demons with her family. Camille has, she has a sister who died a long time ago, like 15 years ago or something like that. And she now has a half-sister who is like 13 years old. And I'm not going to say much more than that, except that you hate everybody. And also, nobody is innocent of anything in this. Like, totally innocuous things are perceived as being really creepy and strange and bizarre. This is an experience. It's an absolute experience. You go through, I mean, especially if you're somebody who reads thrillers and mystery novels, you're trying to figure it out before anybody in this gets even close. And Gillian Flynn is like, no, you're not going to figure out my ending. And true to form, I thought I had it figured out, and then totally out of left field, this other thing happened, and like, it's so good. It's so good. But it's dark, and there are some really serious triggers in this, self-harm and alcohol and drug abuse, and it's violent, and it's creepy. It's creepy. Without being obviously creepy. Like, it's not Insidious creepy, it's Gone Girl creepy. I don't know how to explain it. But it's a good read if you can read those things. So check this out if you are interested. I really, really enjoyed it, and I guess I can take my bookmark out. Oh, I meant to show this to you guys. Hogwarts alumni, Gryffindor. Anyway, so there's that. And I read this for the Reading Extra Credit Read a Book that features a reporter, I think. Reporter or a journalist, because of Rita Skeeter. So that's it for books. I am currently reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, The Prior of the Orange Tree, and The Wonder by Emma Donoghue. But I'll talk about those as and when I finish them. So let's switch gears and talk knitting. In knitting, I have just one project to talk to you about, and it's not even one that's currently on the needles. It's a cast on for tomorrow. So, tomorrow kicks off Shawl Society Season 4. And I have participated in the last 2 Shawl Societies, some more successful than others. But the premise of Shawl Society is it's put together by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. It is 6 months, and you get a new shawl every month. You don't know what it is, what it looks like, until release day. She does send some preliminary ideas of what yarns she used, what base you need, and what needle size. And if you are a part of Shawl Society and you subscribe to the email list, then you get sneak peeks and whatnot before the shawl is released. And then it's sort of like a community-wide knit-along. And I knew that it was coming because she starts Shawl Society about this point every year for the last few years now. And I swore it off. I was like, I'm not doing Shawl Society. I'm not doing it this year. I've got other knitting goals. My Make 9 challenge features no Shawl Society pieces. I've got a ton of things on the needles. I recently cast on 3 shawls. I don't need any more. I'm casting this on tomorrow because it's in my head, and I want to play along, and I love her style, and so I'm going to play along. But I need your help, you guys, with yarn. So the it's usually themed, and this year the theme is a perfect day. And so she took her inspiration from visiting the ocean with her girls. And so the beach and the water and the sky and all of that. So that's how she got her inspiration. And so I hit my stash and I pulled up 2 yarns that I am considering. So here is the original one. And this is going to look awful familiar. This is Malabrigo Water Green, which I am using in my Moonlit Path. But this is in the Machita base, which is a fingering weight single ply. And once again, it's not showing correctly. It's more green than it's showing there. Like I said, chlorine dipped Tiffany. We'll go with that. I have another skein of this on the way because I don't think this is not enough yardage for the shawl. So I ordered another skein of this to go with it. Now she did say that this one is a 1-color shawl, but you can expand it out to 2, but I just like this. And my inspiration for this is actually my honeymoon. So for my honeymoon, Danny and I went to Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. And this kind of makes me think of Cedar Point because of the lake. It's right on Lake Erie. Yeah, this just, it makes me think of that. So there's that. That's option 1. But I pulled this other option, and there's no specific inspiration for it other than the fact that it's 1 skein, but it's enough yardage. This is Numa Numa, the special. And I don't think that Numa Numa is still dying. They used to be a company that was with Eat Sleep Knit, so I bought this way back when. This is 825 yards. Now this is a light fingering weight. It's kind of more of a heavy lace weight, but I think that it's sufficient enough for this shawl. And I just love this. I love all the colors in it. I think it's really pretty. And it's all in 1 skein. And the colorway is called I Believe. So there's that. Let me see. Yep, 825 yards, 100% superwash, 5 ounces. So, water green or I Believe. Which do you guys think? Let me know. I cast on tomorrow, so there's not a whole lot of time to vote. My other skein of this should be here today, so I'm not worried at all. And I guess I'm doing Shawl Society, so we'll see what happens. So that is it for knitting. That's about everything. This, as I expected, turned out to be longer than it should be, but nonetheless, I had a lot of things to cover. And y'all know me, I got on a ramble. Anyway, thank y'all so much for watching. If you're new, I hope you liked what you saw, and I hope you'll come back in the weeks to come. If you're a returning viewer, then all my love to you. Thank you for sticking with me week after week. So much appreciated. Okay, everybody, I'm off. Y'all take care. Happy stitching. As always, be kind, and I will see you next time.